Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Time you got?
Eight.
59.
Good morning, Lisa. Now I got 8:59.
Hey folks, day two, show two of On the Horizon. I'm Mike Lieberman, CEO at Square Two. I'm joined with my longtime friend and business partner, Eric Kalis from his bunker in Philadelphia. And today we're going to talk about the second most pressing issue going on today, work from home. Yesterday, we talked about business innovation, creativity, and really challenging you guys to try to push your businesses, your marketing, your sales to do things differently based on the way people are buying. But today, we're all at home. You can see Eric has a nice background in his apartment in Philadelphia. I have three people working from home. So I'm in what I like to describe as the C office. So to deal with the C office, I found a really cool custom Zoom background and actually customized it even more with our agency's website. So with a $14 green screen and some thumbtacks, in even the worst location in the house, you can actually have a cool office environment. So again, positive, challenge you guys to think a little bit differently about what you're doing. There are lots of very innovative ways to work from home. What we're going to do today is have Eric talk a little bit about selling in the work from home environment. At Square Two, we've been dealing with clients nationally in Canada, in Europe, even as far as Australia and Russia over the past 18 years. So we've been selling remotely and selling with Zoom and selling the way we do today for a long time. So Eric's going to talk about what some of the challenges and some of his successes are around that. And then I'll spend a little time talking about how we work with the team, how we keep everybody focused, how we make sure they're productive, how we infuse culture into the organization. And by 20 minutes after 9, we'll have you guys back to work and hopefully feeling good about what's going on. So Eric, why don't you take us out and talk a little bit about sales in a remote environment?
Sure. So, our viewers today might be saying, well, how are these guys qualified to talk about remote selling and remote workforces? So I'll start with a little bit of background. About 8 or 9 years ago, we acquired a firm. The firm was located in Washington, D.C. When Mike and I went down to visit the owner of the firm to discuss the details of the transaction, we were surprised when we went to a Regus shared office space, and he was the only one in the office. And he explained, oh, we work remotely. We have 10 employees, and none of them work here. I'm the only one that works here because my wife wants me out of the house during the day. And that got us thinking about, well, it's true. Like, we were a local Philadelphia firm. I would even call it regional, call it a 2-hour drive from the office where we would go and sit and have coffee and lunch with prospective clients. And there was nothing wrong with that. But by looking at some of the things that this firm was doing, we were able to really widen our reach into the kinds of folks that we could talk with and eventually do business with. So this is about 10 years of experience of selling remotely that I'd love to share with you. The first thing is that above and beyond anything, you have to have a strategy. If your strategy is that you like to have coffee and lunch and play golf with your clients, this is not a good conversation with you. For you, because your strategy is that you definitely want to have more intimate face-to-face relationship with clients. But that becomes harder as time goes on, especially with lockdowns and who knows what's coming in the future. So the goal is, how can you migrate some of the things you're doing now strategically to being more of a remote company so you can take advantage of the opportunities? The first thing I would definitely recommend is having a sales process. Understanding that this is the process we use, and anything that strays from that process is just going to distract us from our overall goals of acquiring more clients and making those clients happy. So lots of times when someone says, well, I'm looking for a local firm, I'm located in Houston and I'm sitting in Philadelphia, I have to make the decision whether or not this is going to be a good fit for our company or not. So if someone is comfortable dealing remotely, if someone does not have the requirements that they have to be face-to-face, that's a good fit for us. If they happen to be located in Philadelphia or a 2-hour drive from our office, we have the option to go see them and meet with them face-to-face, but it's not the first criteria. So the first thing is think about your strategy. Are you a remote selling company, or do you prefer to meet face-to-face? Understanding that remote is a commitment, you got to go all in on that, meaning that it can't just be a temporary thing where now you start to use Zoom in a lackluster way to start to connect. You really have to have a fabulous experience. For people that pine for the old school thinking to return when this is done, I fear that they're in the minority. I have a friend, he sells cars. All he wants to do is get back in his palatial showroom and start talking to people as they come in. But nobody wants to go into a showroom and buy a car, especially in the short term. And that's why you see companies like Buick offering to deliver the car right to your house with a contact-free delivery transaction. So you really have to commit to selling remotely. And if you do commit to selling remotely, then those steps in the process should reflect that. In our case, we have a 30-minute call to determine fit. If it is a fit, we go on to a 90-minute diagnostic meeting where we bring the team in via Zoom, and their team, the prospects team, comes in as well. We have a lively conversation about determining what would be the best course of action. And then we have a third meeting, which we call the recommendations meeting, where we simply go through the recommendations that we've co-created together, talk about the details, timing, price, and so forth. And during that process, we try not to break from that. Now, with that, you have to have a culture that connects to that. So for people that are joining in on the sales process, they have to use their camera. They have to be dressed appropriately. They have to have a nice background in their house, because this is a reflection of who you are as a company. So when you have someone who's not on camera, it tends to erode the intimacy that you would have in the sales process. Now, you got to have good technology, right? Zoom, Slack, chat, whatever it might be, but it's not just about technology, because you have to make sure that the technology reflects the experience you want people to have in your sales process. Also, quick reminder, whatever technology you're using, please make sure it's secure. You would hate to have a prospect at the finish line of signing a deal and something happens that's insecure or unsecure, and that would blow the deal. And then finally, from a sales process, you have to make sure that the people that you're working with are comfortable with that, and that they know that the engagement is going to be somewhat remote oriented as well. So when you look at that whole conversation I just gave you, it was strategically decided on where our company wants to meet prospects, where we want to meet them, so to speak, and then we designed the process to make sure that it's a fabulous experience. To give you a quick note about how you could sprinkle in a little magic dust throughout the sales process without taking someone out for lunch, at certain points in our sales process, it triggers a third-party provider to UPS packages to the offices or homes of the prospects we're dealing with. So you get a little mix of real-time conversations with things that come in UPS, a mix of media like videos at this point and links to other pieces of content at that point. So they still have a rich experience. It's just not face-to-face. Michael, back to you.
Yeah, those are really awesome points. And just to give wrap a little detail around that. So the partner Eric's talking about is called SendOhSo. SendOhSo is a platform that works directly with a lot of the marketing automation platforms. So when Eric wants to send a book to a prospect, he clicks a button in our HubSpot CRM, and that triggers SendOhSo to get an alert to send the book that they're warehousing in the box that they've procured for us. And they have address confirmation that they will do as well to make sure that they're going to ship it to the right person, because that person's not in their office anymore. They're probably in their home. So they're going to confirm the address and then send the book out. We also send a small package with a jar of marshmallow fluff in it, with an NDA as well for prospects early in the sales process. And SendOhSo handles all that fulfillment, all that procurement of the products, and all that sending also. So we used to do this ourselves with either an admin person in the office, or I would drop the book off at the UPS store on my way home. Like, all that's out the window now. So these tools that we tend to talk about fairly frequently are really important in terms of executing a remarkable sales process. The other thing I'll add before we move on to the company management side of things is we have a couple of sayings in our sales process, and we teach clients this very often. There are two objectives in the sales process. One is to make the prospect feel safe. And some of the things that Eric are talking about, the elongated sales process, the detailed conversations, even the book and the package and the magic pixie dust with the videos and the content and context, are all designed to make the prospect feel safe. People say yes when they feel safe. I'm not going to get fired. I'm not going to get in trouble. This is going to be good for my company. It's going to help us achieve our objectives. I'm comfortable with this firm. I like Eric. I like Mike. I got to meet the people I'm going to work with. All those steps in our sales process are designed to make them feel safe, and they can all be delivered remotely. You don't have to be face-to-face to make someone feel safe about working with you. And the other part of it is prospects have to have acute pain. So Eric's early comments about his discovery call and how we decide whether someone's a good fit for us is also, we have to uncover how acute their pain is. So there are some questions you can ask and some conversations you can have with prospects remotely to uncover how serious they are about this project, how important this is to their company's leadership. Lots of times I'll ask them something like, well, how would you rate this from a priority perspective with everything else the company is working on? 10 is we have to do this immediately. 1 is, well, if we get to it, it'll be fine. And I make them score us so that we have some real crystal clear idea about how serious they are about doing this kind of project. All that can be done remotely. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, Christian Stearns asks, can you talk about measured performance on non-salespeople working from home? Is it all about tasks completed? Well, that's a pretty big question with a lot to unpack. And I think that really cascades down from strategy and culture. Because when you have a team that is aligned and they're trying to drive towards certain goals, whether it be customer satisfaction, driving revenue, net profit margin, if the team is aligned on those metrics and you're sharing those on a frequent basis, say your Friday all hands meeting, then everybody's on the same page. There's a lot of traditional thinking that says, well, if I'm not standing over someone's shoulder and watching them dial the phone 100 times or having them answer 50 customer service calls, I'm not getting the results I'm looking for. But if I spun that around and I said, hey, Mary in customer service, do whatever you want to make the clients happy. Our metric is a net promoter score of 75 or higher. Then we don't really care what Mary does in order to get there as long as the metric holds up. So I don't think it's all about tasks completed. It's about setting goals and objectives, educating the team, aligning the team to get there, and then watching the metrics go up and to the right as you execute. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be people that aren't going to be a good fit. Sales is a great example. If you say, hey, salesperson, you need to close 2 deals a week, and they can't do that, well, that is all about task. It is all about results. And there are some things like how many people did you talk to, how many people converted, so forth and so on. But I think that really strategically, culture is the answer to that question about managing people remotely. Anything to add, Mike?
Yeah, so let's just transition. That's a good split off point to talk more about, how we work with our people and how some of the challenges you might be dealing with moving from in-office to remote teams. So, everyone's watched The Office. Everyone knows, like, hey, meeting in the conference room, let's go. Like, that's out the window. And when you work remotely with your team, you have to think entirely differently about the company. And most of this really comes down to just being thoughtful about it. So I learned very early in my career that companies have rhythms, just like people have rhythms. You get up at the same time every day. You eat at generally the same time every day. You go to bed at generally the same time every day. My wife likes to call our son at the same time every day. Like, there are things that happen that make us comfortable in our lives, and businesses are made up of people, and they need to have their own rhythms. And the rhythms remotely are different than the rhythms when people are in the office. So one of the ways we manage the team remotely is we do a lot of huddles. Huddle is basically a 15-minute, or it could be as long as a 30-minute meeting that happens fairly regularly to deal with issues quickly. So our team gets together every morning for a 15-minute huddle where they're talking about quick review of what needed to get done yesterday, quick review of everyone, make sure they're clear on what needs to get done today, any obstacles, let's identify them and take them offline. So very quickly, the entire team, remote or not, gets on the same page of what they need to do every single day. We also have a lot of rhythms around um, bigger things, not necessarily getting work done. Like there's a group of people at Square Two who work on Square Two's marketing. We meet every Wednesday at 1:30. So while everyone has various tasks that they're working on during the week, we have a regular meeting that we all get to, and we attend remotely to talk about some of the things we've been working on, reprioritize things, check things off the box that have been completed, and make sure that there's progress being done every week. Eric talked about culture, and it couldn't be more important. You have to think about culture in the same way. So the way we deal with culture is we have a talk show handled remotely through Zoom called What's New Square 2 that we run every single Friday at 12:15. That focuses for 45 minutes every week on rewards and recognition, information sharing across the company, birthdays, promotions, anniversaries. We have features like Who's Happy at Square Two, where we talk about a client that's had some successes. We typically have an update on sales, who's new coming into the shop this week or next week. And we do it in kind of a fun talk show format. Think like Kelly and Ryan. So it's not a stale presentation with a talking head. There are segments, there are participants. We handle it all remotely. It's got some nice graphics to back it up with some GIFs and some animated features in our PowerPoint presentation, and it works really well. We've also started doing at 4:30 on Thursday company happy hour, which you've seen everywhere on LinkedIn. We all get together on Zoom and we have a drink for a half an hour, 45 minutes. Some people leave early, some people stay the whole time. It's a lot of like just personal updates. Hey, tell us about your kids, tell us what's going on in Colorado, and it's kind of light and fun, and it gives us a chance to just catch up with with each other personally. It also works really well. Question came up about tools like Slack or some of these other things that we use, and Slack is a great tool, and obviously a lot of people use it. We really lean into Zoom because we do so much remote video with Zoom. We use Zoom's chat tool as well, and we like the fact that it's integrated one platform. We set up rooms for different people who are working on different projects. We have client rooms, we have project rooms like that marketing team that I mentioned earlier. We have our own Zoom room where we post things for people to think about, and we talk about issues offline, all through the Zoom chat feature. So I do think you need a chat tool, and I like the fact that it's integrated with our video technology, but really anything that allows you guys to have those offline conversations in a chat format are going to be very productive. That also strips away a lot of ancillary email too, which can be very distracting. If we're getting a ton of emails and you have those long email thread conversations, those are the things you want to move off of email and onto your Slack or Zoom chat channel so that people can deal with those a little more proactively.
Hey, Mike, let's talk about also the tone and voice of that Slack, right? Because we're talking about working remotely. Some of the channels are very informational, right? Our new client channel where we post all the details of a new client coming on board. Nothing really funny about that, but there's a lot of like, yay, let's get them. All right, let's grow the company. But then there's channels that are set up that are completely goofy. And it's just like if you were, yucking it up by the water cooler at your office, you have to have a little bit of outlet for that as well. People are posting funny things. People are posting personal things. And we encourage that because it's the same as just having a 5-minute break to go see what's going on around the water cooler. So don't be so rigid and formal that you can't try to translate some of the personal relationships that you might develop in the office to the Slack channel.
Yeah, it's a great comment. And we actually had a fantasy football channel. I mean, only 12 of us in the company had fantasy football teams last year. So, for everyone else to listen to us talk about fantasy football in the general company channel was not the right thing to do. So we just paired that off, had our own channel. Only the 12 people who had teams had anything to do with that. But Eric's right. You want to think a little bit about the conversations you're having around the company, and those personal ones can be siphoned off into a nice area where people can, do the kind of things they want to do there, and the work channels remain kind of focused on work. So again, really a little bit of thought, and you can handle that really nicely.
I mean, it's
Um,
a lot of things, Mike, right? Strategy before tactics. If you're going to set up that kind of communication, just think about it in advance. What do we need? What would make our team members happy? What would release the amount of emails in our inbox? All those things can be considered in your setup so that it really runs smoothly. With the last 2 minutes left, Mike, someone wants to know how you got that nice background on your computer.
Yeah, so a couple of housekeeping issues in the last couple of minutes. So this background is a free background that if you Google free Zoom backgrounds, you'll get a whole host of different backgrounds to pick from. I was specifically looking for something that had a big open area that I could do some custom graphics in, but literally there are hundreds of Zoom backgrounds that you can download. Some you have to pay for, but there are plenty of free Zoom backgrounds that you can choose from. Some landscapes, I was looking for like a cool apartment-y type, modern-y office type setting just to make it look like I was in a cool space. Plenty of options to choose from. And if you poke around a little extra, you can find the ones that have the ability to do the custom graphics. I just threw my custom Zoom background in PowerPoint, put in the custom graphic, grouped it together and saved it as a picture, and then downloaded it into Zoom as one of my background choices. So very, very easy to do. In the last minute, I don't know if anybody tried to get the on-demand version of this from yesterday's show, but it was password protected. I'm going to fix that today. So all of these shows will be on the On Horizons page on our website, and they will not be password protected. So if you're looking for yesterday's show and you needed a password, I'll fix that today when I post this. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate having you guys here.
Don't forget to share. We want to make this as large a community as possible that's thinking positively about what's on the horizon.
And we'll see you tomorrow with another episode of On the Horizon. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.